intro of the day. But today we like to revisit some of the structures for next year. We thought it would be helpful since we were getting ready to change a few roles in our planning meeting for our planning meeting team that Mark could kind of provide some background just about how this group has evolved over time, a little historical context, because he's been serving in the role as past chair. I've been serving in the role as chair, and Carrie as co-chair, and Cindy secretary. And as you know, we've closed the poll for our voting for next year. But before we make that announcement, thought it'll be a nice transition just to kind of hear about where this group has been, because we've had a lot of different roles or people kind of coming in and out, a lot of changeover over time. So I'm going to invite Mark to share with the group, and then we'll share an announcement about where we are with our new appointed members of the leadership team.
All right, thanks, Aisha. So I was just trying to count. I was co-chair, then I was chair twice, and I was past chair now twice. So I've had 5 years running on this, and then I did a whole co-chair, chair, and past chair prior to that, with a couple years off in between. So I've had a lot of chances to lead or be a part of the conversations leading you all forward. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate your respect and patience with that, and we've come a long way. But I guess from the historical perspective, as we talk about whatever these next pieces are that we look at rethinking how we might do this group breakout time, just actually I think Erin was here, and I'm not sure. Yeah, she's here. So she was one of the original, she was actually the original chair of the group when it came together. And just a quick reminder for those that maybe don't know, or those who were a part of it, at one point this group was 3 or 4 different ELA entities. So there was 3 or 4 different ELA groups. We worked really hard to bring them together, and that's when the MAISA group got involved in a positive way, saying we're hearing from our ISD ESA superintendents, regional superintendents, saying our ELA and really all the content area consultants are being pulled for many meetings. How could we be more concise with that? And it came to this, which is now known as the network. And so all of the core disciplines have a network. So I also attend the social studies network, which I think was the last one to get on board with that meeting process. So this networking idea has come to fruition. And some of the things that I know that we worked to really hold onto were how this group could maintain its foot or voice in what was happening at the state level, but then knowing that it's so that we knew we were informed, supported there, but then also how we could take and make that work at the local level, and yet not have it be so many iterations of what that support could look like. Obviously, the task forces and those different components that have been developed through MAISA, through the GELN group, and bringing that all together have had a big influence in that. But I've been chuckling because I have seen the little honeycomb grid behind Janelle, and that was one of the things that we really used to kind of show where we fit in that continuum. And it wasn't a linear thing where it was like, oh, the information comes from MDE through MESA through GLN to us, to the locals. But it became this more, what is the information we're flowing versus what is the information that we're carrying forward? And so we really, I think over these few years, since Erin had taken on chair and others have come along from that point on, I think that information flow has become more clear, and it isn't seen as that we're being told what to do, but we're taking that information, culminating a voice around it, and then sharing our thinking. It doesn't mean that we say what's going to happen, but it also doesn't mean that we're being told what to do. So we're still moving forward in a more uniform fashion. And some of the other tenets I think we've really kept and really maybe even added was we've really added this professional learning component, which has been fantastic. We've had that the network updates piece, which had been in a different form, and we've just kind of more formalized it. The legislative update that came from getting feedback from all of you as participants. And so that's been a really nice add. And we continue to get amazing feedback on don't lose that portion of it. And then that brings us to this next part that's always been a part of the group is how do you create or how are we generating or doing some of that iterative work where it's appropriate? And I think that's the biggest thing is like, where is this group and this team and then how is that work appropriate versus maybe it's nice to just have our voices heard, but we tend to be the people that do the work. So we tend to want to run before we walk. And so it's been good just to kind of keep our arms around that. So I feel like we have a lot of those components still embedded. I'll still be around to support, but really keep those things in mind. And I think Tanya, I'll give her a lot of credit over the past, geez, I'm going to say 3 years. It might be 4. She has really offered more of a presence of MAISA. So you have that more interconnected message from MAISA to our group, and it's kind of that back and forth. And if you're not sure what I mean by that, what I'm saying is the 4-5 group, which I highlighted earlier, we talked to Tanya back and forth, and it was like, well, there's no funding, and I'm going to further date myself other than being like grandpa sitting here talking to the group. But the Freedom to Learn Act, I believe it was called the FTL, when the 6th graders all got computers, there was this big conversation to say, well, the 6th graders have computers. Well, so what? But it was like, well, if we don't imagine what it could be if money were to come, then what happens when the money comes? Then we're scrambling and we're reactive. And so I think Tanya really supported putting together a plan and an idea around the 4-5 essentials. And then by having that plan or idea, then that came to fruition. So those are the types of things that I think this group has done that have been fantastic. Obviously, those other parts I spoke to, but it's been a pleasure to be a part of that. And just keep those things in mind as to what this group is really about and being that we're unified that way and carrying a voice forward. And I think our next biggest challenge is, and one we talk about a lot, is that we've got a K5 presence and a 6-12 presence. And some people maybe were K5, some people are K12, some people are 6-12, but now they're being told or not told, but asked to do more K5. Well, K5's been down the road, but it's more K5 expanding to K12 and what might that look like and all that. So that's kind of a big next fork in the road, it seems. And it may or may not be that, but that's really what this group is built on. And I know you guys are up for the challenge, and just keep those things in mind. And it's not like I'm going away. Your hand is raised, Janelle. What would you, again, so formal.
Well, I just want to say, like, to the point that you made, Mark, I think that it is really well made, that this is not a hierarchical kind of decision-making structure that we have in the state of Michigan. And that is very unique. And one of the things I learned when I first came to Oakland schools is that there are other states that have ISD-like structures, but many of them are fee-based and don't provide their services for free like we do throughout the state of Michigan. And the other thing that I learned, because I talk with people all around the country, mainly Department of Ed folks, but some at other levels that are doing disciplinary literacy work. And typically the way that work rolls out is there are some secondary ELA people at the state level that make a decision about how that work should take place, and then it happens, right? But there's no middle sort of structure that's collaborating on around what that looks like. And so we really do have a truly unique kind of collaboration structure that allows us to get closer to the needs of our practitioners and our locals than a lot of other states do. And so I think we are, Mark, to your point, well poised to go faster, farther, especially in thinking about improving things at the K-12 level, because we have everybody on this call, because we have the structures that we do. So that feels really encouraging, even though it's been a long fight to get, 6-12 to be in the conversation. I think that we are well poised. And there are a lot of people around the state that reach out to me all the time, like, that's not my area of expertise, but can you help me think through this, right? And so we have that sort of structure where we help each other. We're not in competition with one another. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is worth celebrating.
Thank you, Janelle, for lifting that. And I want to invite, I know Mark spoke to the historical perspective. He mentioned Aaron Brown, and then you also mentioned Tanya. Either one of you want to speak to where we've been, some of our voice around the last 3 years and some of the changes that have happened. I just want to invite you to share any thoughts as well before we move on to the next part of our discussion.
Well, just to echo Janelle's acknowledgement of our uniqueness here in Michigan, it all comes from GELN. So GELN was forming in like 2012, 2013, Tanya, and the Karens were the current GLN co-chairs at that time, and they saw the need to create content leadership, ways that we could come together, just like both speakers just said, so that we could actually lift up the work and inform GELN from our content expertise. So really it was their vision, and they reached out to ask for this to happen. And it's so incredible. It started in 2014. So thank you everybody for all the ways that you continue to live out that vision that the very first GELN groups ever imagined for this work, because it's coming alive and it continues to do so. And I'm sure that those first visionary leaders would be so pleased to be here today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha, for just giving an opportunity to share. But I think that what everybody has shared and what we see in our past leadership and current leadership is the opportunity to engage with each other. And that is crucial, to have a forum where you can ask questions and not feel like there's a dumb question, but rather an opportunity to really just get in there, look at the work, and talk to each other around the state, because all of our ISDs or ESA or RESA, wherever you call home, is a little bit different. And this group brings everybody together, puts aside those differences, and says, how can we help and support each other? And that's the beauty of this group. And just it's appreciated. It's appreciated as a former GELN member that we all knew we had someone to go to. And it's really becoming more cohesive just in the last few years. So it's an easy group, as I put in the chat, to support and make time for, because I always learn something new when I'm in this group, and that's a gift. So thank you to the people who helped encourage the start of this and as it continues to grow. So I think our next big task of PA 146 is all hands on deck, and that's another really supportive piece about the group.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Mark, for just providing that overview of where we've been. It helps when we have so many different roles that have changed over time, and for those that also contribute to the conversation, we're really appreciative of that. We have closed the polls when I think about where we're going into next year. So before we talk about what this time would look like for next year, it looks from our votes that Rebecca Miles is going to be our co-chair for next year. A couple of reactions are going up on the screen. Thank you, Rebecca, for accepting the nomination, and for those that voted. And it also looks like Cindy Jamrog is going to be our secretary again for next year. So we want to give kudos and thanks to Cindy for accepting those nominations as well. And for all of those that voted, we thank you for your contribution and your voice. We had about 36 responses. I was expecting a little more, actually, because we had about 50 people on this morning. But went ahead and closed out, and we appreciate those that contributed to our poll. So as we think about what this time will look like this year, we've talked about as a planning team how PA 146 has been at the forefront of our discussion, ongoing. We thought about perhaps breaking our group time into some of those subcategories. We've also been we've had the opportunity to have some professional learning from Dr. Allison Fox-Resnick, who has been supporting our learning around professional learning and systems work, and our implementation process. We heard from her this morning, and it's been on the table for us to be able to invite her back next year. We also have heard so much about the disciplinary literacy piece, and so I've asked Janelle to join one of our sessions for next year at least, just to kind of continue to build this coherence K-12. But her voice has definitely been represented here in the room on a regular basis. So we're just kind of filling out, trying to see what the structure is going to look like for next year, and want to know a little of your feedback around that structure changing, whether or not it's one big focus on PA 146 and we break into subgroups based off of the topics under that umbrella, or if we want to continue a similar structure. Before, I know we had the 4 or 5 essentials team. That work has kind of evolved, and now we have the professional learning developed for it. So we just kind of want to open the floor, and those that are on the planning team, feel free to chime in, and those that have been a part of the conversation, want to invite you back to lift some other ideas into the room for our end of the day discussions. We still had a lot of seeing a lot of congratulations in the chat. You can feel free to unmute or put some responses in the chat around the idea of our PA 146 topics, PA 146 being our general topic, and we have breakouts around the different components like assessments, IRIPs, intervention, coaching. What are your thoughts on that as a group? Okay. Looks like Rebecca said that structure would be very helpful and hard to choose from. Feel free to unmute and share your thoughts. It's just kind of an open discussion as we move forward.
I love the structure. I was just thinking hard to choose from because I would want to learn all of the things, because I think so many of us are in that space where when you think about particularly that 6-12 space, I want to know more deeply about the structures of intervention. I want to know more deeply that balanced assessment system and how to inform so we don't overcorrect. So I love the structure, and maybe multiple choices across the session, like maybe 2 sessions, so you can do both.
Or at the very least have them recorded so we could pop in. But yeah, it is a beast. So definitely categorizing and making them more digestible would be intriguing. I know in our ISD, we are also trying to make the IRIP as simple as possible, and looking maybe to collaborate around that, and really just simple but usable and meaningful for IRIPs.
I would like to piggyback on that. I also feel the IRIP would be really important, but also looking at that at-home plan and the adjustments with that to really be able to come together and collaborate. Being a smaller ISD, RISA, just having that network of people to kind of bounce ideas off of and compare what we should be doing with our support moving forward would be very helpful.
Aisha, I wonder, and if you already shared this, I apologize for restating this, but would the team as a whole rather be in smaller breakout rooms for that work time, or do things as a whole unit in the afternoon time, or however the time is structured? Because it seems like so many of us have similar questions. So would it be more beneficial to do small groups and have groups tasked with that, or the whole group? Because I feel like we have people coming in and out, and then sometimes it's tough to run that smaller group when you don't have all the same people coming in to your meeting each time that we meet.
I did not speak to that, but it sounded like Rebecca was kind of hinting towards that too. Like, I'd like to hear about all these different things. So like if we need to record or perhaps stay together, that's a structure we're willing to move to as well. So looks like we had something else in the chat. Yes, so Stephanie said that's a really great point, Tanya. So yes, we are open to that structure where we don't necessarily have to go into breakouts or team time. Maybe there's some things that we tackle together, whole group. We're open to that structure as well. I think Janelle said, I was very glad to hear that the MyRead platform can accommodate 412 IRIPs with the option of upload by school as opposed to teacher. Those updates and nuances are important. Okay. So are you thinking, Janelle, that like having a group that's more specific to IRIPs would be helpful, or we're just kind of naming that as
making
something?
the point that, and I'm not advocating for one platform over another, but I'm making the point that like, as we learn something new in the field, right? Like having this be a space where we can have those updates for conversation feels really important. And then I do think, if people are interested, my lens on PA 146 has been solely secondary all year. And so, I've been working with a colleague to build tools specific to secondary. And so even if we had a little bit of space one day, if people were interested, for us to really like go through and kind of talk through some of those nuances and differences and go through some of the tools and things like that. If there are folks that would want to partner with me and kind of talking through that with folks, I think that'd be awesome.
Thanks for clarifying there. So, well, these are definitely considerations that our team can take forward as we prepare to plan for next year. And we will definitely share out with the group where we land. We welcome you to fill out the survey that we have linked in at the bottom of the agenda. That feedback survey is a space where if you didn't get a chance to share out here, you can share some more of your thinking around structures, maybe in an open field there, that can kind of help us to know where we're landing. Okay, I was reading Mark's comment in the chat. We'll definitely continue to record the sessions and make them available on our website, the ELA website. And we also want to offer up that opportunity for you to add to our Padlet any of the professional learning opportunities that are in your area. And as we prepare to close out, if there aren't any other questions, I'm going to give you the gift of time. I don't know if anyone else from the team wants to add on, but we appreciate your journey with us this full year. And we're looking forward to our learning together for next year. So any feedback that you have, we're welcome to receive.
I'll say thanks, everyone, and I'll say good luck to those taking on those roles of leadership. Excited to see you take it in other directions, or whatever directions you take it in.
Anything else from Carrie, or I don't think Cindy's on. Okay. Rebecca, or
I just want to say thanks. I am looking forward to working alongside this amazing team.
thanks so much. Well, we appreciate your time today, and we are going to release you, and we will see you in the fall. Look forward to some communication from us at the end of the school year. Well, welcome everyone. Just going to briefly walk through the agenda. We're going to start with the welcome and some intro.